On September 26th, Ubisoft stock hit $9.89, its lowest point in 10 years. The last time it was at this price? Well, a lot has happened since then. So how did Ubisoft get here? In a worse place than it's been in almost 10 years. To find out, we're going to map out the story of Ubisoft over the past 10 years, using this stock chart as our calendar. Every rise and fall tells a story of success and of failure. Let's get started. In 2014, Ubisoft was coming off the heels of their crowning achievements, Assassin's Creed Black Flag and Far Cry 3, each arguably the best games in their respective series, both selling over 10 million units each and being praised throughout the gaming community. The company was on a clear upward trajectory, releasing Watch Dogs, Assassin's Creed Unity, The Crew, and Far Cry 4 all in the same year, 2014. But while on the outside things looked well for the company, turmoil was rising underneath the surface. In October 2015, Ubisoft was beginning to face what would become a massive, years-long internal fight for independence. The multinational media company, Vivendi, began to make headlines with its strategic investments in the gaming industry. The company had acquired minority stakes in Ubisoft, purchasing 6.6% of Ubisoft shares for 150 million euros, or around $150 million. Vivendi's foray into Ubisoft raised eyebrows, given its prior history of taking control of game publishers, and by early 2016, the situation at Ubisoft had intensified. As officials confirmed, Vivendi was pursuing a hostile takeover. They wanted to acquire enough shares to gain complete control of Ubisoft. With that, they would have the ability to elect their own board of directors and impose their will on Ubisoft as a whole, dictating their creative, management, and business decisions. This was an aggressive strategy, which worried Ubisoft CEO, Yves Guillemot, who now refers to the whole situation as a challenging fight for the company. At that point, Vivendi had already acquired approximately 15% of Ubisoft shares, or almost a fifth of the whole company. As Vivendi continued to steadily increase its stake in Ubisoft, they reached a high of 23.3% ownership by 2018. With this, internal tensions continued to rise. Concerns were growing that if Vivendi succeeded in its takeover, it could drastically alter Ubisoft's direction. But in March 2018, after a long, hard-fought battle, a turning point arrived. Ubisoft successfully negotiated a deal to fully divest Vivendi from its shares, effectively ending the years-long takeover effort. Under the terms of this agreement, Vivendi would sell its entire stake in Ubisoft, which had reached nearly 30.5 million shares. In a remarkable twist, Vivendi's investments, which amounted to around 800 million euros over the past 3 years, would be sold for 2 billion. Having survived the hostile takeover attempt from Vivendi, Ubisoft's independence was secured. However, this freedom may have ironically accelerated their decline. You see, during these turbulent years, Ubisoft managed to release some solid, even great titles. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege, The Division, For Honor, Far Cry 5, and Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Remarkably, 3 of these went on to become Ubisoft's highest-selling games ever. But despite this success, Ubisoft was about to face its greatest challenge yet. Not from outside forces, but from within. A revealing survey conducted by the company in the summer of 2020 would lead to what many now refer to as a great exodus of talent, as it uncovered alarming statistics. 1 in 4 employees reported witnessing or experiencing workplace misconduct in the past 2 years. Furthermore, 1 in 5 respondents felt unsafe or disrespected in their work environment. These findings came in the wake of allegations of systemic harassment and toxicity at Ubisoft, which had emerged earlier that summer. High-profile executives, including Chief Creative Officer Sergei Asque, were accused of fostering a culture where misconduct thrived. Allegations included inappropriate behavior during meetings, hosting these business meetings at strip clubs, and a work environment characterized by sexism and racism. Numerous complaints have been lodged with Ubisoft HR over the years, yet many perpetrators remained in positions of power. As the company grappled with these internal issues, the disconnect between management and employees increased significantly. Amidst this backdrop, Ubisoft's attrition rate skyrocketed. Reports indicated that during this time, 12% of Ubisoft's workforce left over the course of 18 months. This exodus included at least 60 staff members from its Montreal and Toronto branches, comprising both low and mid-level employees as well as senior developers. This departure marks a steep change in those producing Ubisoft games, and the output after this exodus shows a steep drop in quality. The damage to Ubisoft's reputation was done, its employees scattered, and its integrity left in shambles. So is it any surprise as to what happened next? What began as a promising era for the company quickly turned into a struggle for survival, as the weight of public scrutiny and internal dissent took its toll. During this time, Ubisoft's output diminished noticeably in both the quality and quantity of their releases. Games such as Watch Dogs Legion, Far Cry 6, and Assassin's Creed Mirage failed to live up to the legacy of their franchises. And as Ubisoft pushed forward past these recent struggles, their output continued to disappoint. The decline in the caliber of Ubisoft titles coincided with further internal conflict, highlighted by news that dropped in October 2023 that 5 former employees were arrested in a sexual harassment case. Among those arrested were former Chief Creative Officer Sergei Ascoe and former VP of Editorial and Creative Services Tommy Francois. This investigation revealed what one lawyer described as unprecedented systemic enabling of harassment within the company, which further complicated Ubisoft's attempts to rebuild its reputation. Due to this, Ubisoft was now put into a position where they had not only lost developers and creative talent due to their toxic workplace environment, but senior staff were now facing the consequences of their actions. And what does a company devoid of talent and structure produce? Utter slop. Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora left many wanting more. While it was praised for its stunning visuals, the gameplay was predictably repetitive, a description that has become synonymous with Ubisoft games. Skull and Bones, the title that was in development throughout this entire saga, released to scathing reviews and performed abysmally, reportedly costing Ubisoft upwards of $850 million, the largest nail in an already airtight coffin. This brings us to the present, where Star Wars Outlaws has vastly underperformed expectations, leaving Ubisoft in a freefall. The company now has one glimmer of hope for salvation: Assassin's Creed Shadows, which has already been delayed, presumably due to the poor perception of Outlaws. Ubisoft seems to have realized now that it needs to step up the quality of its games in order to survive, as the gaming community is clearly fed up with supporting its subpar offerings that Ubisoft has become known for. On the company side of things, news recently dropped that Ubisoft is looking into being acquired by Chinese gaming giant Tencent, a name that seems to appear everywhere in gaming today. I find this incredibly ironic, looking back at how hard Ubisoft fought to be independent. Zooming out and looking at this tragic saga as a whole, I feel a deep sense of remorse. Not for Ubisoft, as the company clearly brought this unprecedented collapse upon themselves, but for the fans of these franchises. There's little hope for a great game to come from the worlds of Far Cry, Assassin's Creed, or any Ubisoft IP, and it's quite disheartening. I really wish this story had gone different, but after seeing how Skull and Bones and Outlaws turned out, well, there doesn't seem to be much hope for Ubisoft, a once powerhouse of creativity and innovation that's now just a shadow of its former self, and the transparency of its decline is impossible to ignore. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. A very small percentage of those who watch my videos are subscribed, and each subscriber really means a lot and is truly the best way to support this channel. As always, thank you for watching. Consider leaving a like or even subscribing, and I'll see you next week.